Coming up on today's show, we're recapping the Nintendo Direct, the PlayStation State of Play, and I've got some Assassin's Creed whiskey to taste. What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff every Friday. I'm one of your hosts, Andrea Renee, joined once again in studio by Brittany Brombacher.
What is this life? I'm here.
It's my dream life, obviously. Okay. It's so good to have you back. Brittany, we have a special guest here. Janet Garcia is here, everybody.
What's up? Thanks for
It's
having
so
me.
great to have you back. I was realizing I didn't ask you the preferred way you want to be introduced because you do so many things now. How do I even prioritize which one of those jobs you want to kind of go by?
Yeah, I guess I usually go by game critic and content creator.
I like it.
Hyphen or semicolon, head of Pen to Pixels, co-host of PS I Love You at Kind of Funny Vids, and co-host in MinMax. So, yeah.
God, that's impressive.
Yeah. Oh,
Just
and
doing a few things.
the senior editor at Lost and Cult, Lost and Cult for Lock On, which is a quarterly gaming journal.
Amazing.
But yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Doing lots of stuff.
Yes.
And you're here.
Yeah, and I'm excited to be here.
This worked out really great.
It is such like a cool studio space.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously I've seen it like on camera as a viewer, but like actually stepping in and being on like set, it's really nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I mean, it's going to be nothing compared to the new Kind of Funny Studios
But I haven't
that we
seen
saw
that
the
yet.
teaser for.
So it's like,
so we're number one right now.
oh man,
yes,
you're putting
we're going to hold on to it.
You're
as
putting
long
me in
as
a rough
possible.
spot because I just went to MinMax's studio, but
Well, okay,
yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
Maybe,
Well, you work for
probably.
MinMax. You're obligated to say that their studio is better.
they did have to go to IKEA to get new chairs though, so I think the studio might be better. But
Oh,
you know,
well,
give it
thank
time.
Yay.
I got mine from Wayfair, I think.
There you go.
That lovely
Yeah.
site. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are glad that you are back. I want to say thank you to this month's Patreon producers, Chewy's Godson, Alex Rigopulos, Faris Attieh, Justin Foshee, and Punkdefied. And if you want to join our Patreon community and support our voices in video games, patreon.com/whatsgoodgames is the place to do it, where you can get the show ad-free. Or if you don't have some money, that's okay. It's tough times right now. Hopefully you have a few minutes of your time, because we've been getting some amazing 5-star reviews from people. So thank you to everybody who's taken the time. And I see you people who are like, yo, I gave my 5-star review a long time ago and you missed me and I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think someone said something about 2 years ago. I don't even know if we were doing these shout outs 2 years ago.
I don't know if we were. And then you had this epiphany of like, yo, we should shout these out.
It started off with Janet, me calling out the stupid people who gave us 1-star review for dumb reasons. You know, I was like, oh, this person gave us a 1-star because we're women. You can counter that. And then it just kind of worked. People are so kind. And
That's
I
awesome.
want to give a shout out. Marisa?
It looks like Marisa.
92. This review actually made me tear up a little bit. I came across your podcast during lockdown when I was looking for a way to learn more about gaming so my husband and I could do the hobby together. I wanted to be able to talk about upcoming games he might be interested in and learn more about the industry as a whole. Not only did this podcast help me do that, but I also learned about a lot of games I may not have tried otherwise. And so it's just, I think it's important to remind ourselves, Andrea, that this is kind of why we do what we do.
Yes.
This is the warm and fuzzy part of what we do. You know, you get people all the time because you're everywhere. When you get those nice comments, it really does carry us as content creators a long way. So thank you.
Absolutely.
So sweet.
Thank you for taking the time, everybody who is leaving wonderful reviews. Mwah, mwah. Today's show is also brought to you by ExpressVPN, but we'll talk about that in just a little bit because, oh boy, there is a lot of news this week.
What a week.
What
for
a
me to-
surprise,
Oh.
too.
Yeah, this is the best E3 you've had in years.
What's interesting about this week is that it clearly is Tokyo Game Show, which is underway as of the publish of this podcast. But Tokyo Game Show hasn't been a big center for news like this in a long time. And I don't know if all of these Japanese companies decided to do their events this week to kind of bolster their support for TGS as an event, or if it was just coincidence.
Maybe that's just the way the pins are falling. Just happened right now. Things are ready to go and ready to be shown off.
It's true.
I mean, dang.
Well, we're heading for the fall, and that's like a pretty busy time. Like that's like review season too. We had that early one in the beginning of the year, which was rare. Like usually it's kind of a slower start, but it's like the ramp up time. But it's still rare to see. I think 2 like big showcases coincide.
3 big showcases, Janet. RGG Summit stream.
Well, on the same day.
And I feel like we're going to cover that more than any of the others.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But before we do that, we have to get prepped by drinking some of this Assassin's Creed whiskey. So you may see that I have the bottle. I tweeted that Assassin's Creed has a limited edition whiskey. Let me get you guys a little close-up shot here for everybody watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames. And I have a closer shot on my Twitter page. So this is a limited edition bottle. I love the creep in. It is bottled by Crystal Falls Spirits, and it's distilled in Texas, which is interesting. And it's about leaping into history.
Great.
That's literally what it says. So cheers, ladies.
Cheers, cheers, cheers.
Let's give this a taste. It definitely has more of a whiskey feel and a bourbon feel, though it says straight bourbon whiskey on the bottle. Though I think they're technically not allowed to say that, right? They're not allowed to call it bourbon, but it must be whiskey in a bourbon style. They're trying to get away with it.
It's.
You don't like it. Just say it.
No, it's
Just
not
say
that
it.
I don't like it. I'm trying to, honestly, I'm trying to decide if I'm tasting my lip gloss or the whiskey itself.
Of course.
It's
As long as
tough
it
for
doesn't
that.
taste like balloons, I think we're good.
I don't drink a lot of whiskey, so I'm like, it's better than the really like bad stuff. But I'm like, what is this supposed to taste like? How would you describe like what is a good whiskey? What's the mark of a good whiskey? Like what should I be looking for?
I like smoky whiskey. Okay. Oh, that's why I like those campfire scotches.
So you're more of a Scotch girl. Really?
No. Well,
This is interesting to me as like a diehard Maker's Mark fan.
I mean, it's easy. It's reliable. Love me some Maker's Mark. This is okay. It has, I don't know what the flavor is. The word that's coming to mind is like pale. Like there's not like a big like something. There's something missing
It
from
tastes
it.
like it's like cleaning the insides of you, which I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well,
like an
most
internal scrubber.
whiskeys do because they're usually pretty high proof. This one is 90 proof, which is, tame for a lot of whiskeys, but still very strong. Most alcohol is usually between 75 and 80 proof.
Yeah, I mean it's
It'll
fine.
wake you up.
It's
It'll cure what ails you.
I feel like this is reflective of how I feel about Assassin's Creed in general.
Would you?
It's
We're
kinda
going to
meh.
pin that for a second. I'm going to read the little marketing speak on the
we go.
website.
Yes.
It says, crafted in the hill country of Texas and finished in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, this 4-year-old straight bourbon whiskey carries a rich flavor with rye spice, wheat character, and hints of cherry, vanilla, and oak. Appealing to spirit connoisseurs and fans alike, this iconic selection is a worthy addition to any bar. Game hard, drink responsibly.
I feel like you buy this for the bottle, not for the bourbs.
Is this why I bought 2? One to rock, one to stock? Maybe.
Oh, you should you could display
That's
it
great
next
phrasing.
to your.
I've never heard that before.
I can't take credit. It
Oh.
is a sneakerhead thing where when you see a really like dope pair of sneakers, you buy 2 because you rock one so you can wear it out in the streets, and then you stock one so you can sell it for a lot of money one day. Because once you've worn it, the value of the
Yeah.
sneakers goes way down.
That's kind of like Pokemon cards.
One
I
to
like
rock,
the-
one to stock. Yeah, I guess you could like play with one and then keep one like
You
in
keep
its
one
fancy
sealed.
case or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I wouldn't buy it again.
What part of history do you feel transported to when you drink this?
Well,
I
since
feel
it's
like-
an American whiskey, I feel Assassin's Creed 3 is appropriate.
I feel like I would say Black Flag, but then I know people are gonna come at me because like, oh, that's rum, because it's whatever.
They will come at you like me. I will come
But
at
again,
you.
like pale, like stale wood is the comes to mind.
Well, so certainly not
Valhalla
worth the
or-
$69.99
No,
price
you buy it
point.
for the bottle. You
Yeah.
just stare at
It's
it.
limited edition.
Yeah, it's
it's good. I've definitely had better whiskeys.
Yeah,
Yes. But did I buy 2 bottles? I sure did. Okay, that's enough about whiskey. Should we talk about this giant news week that we've had?
Yeah.
Brittany is barely containing herself, so we've put the RGG content at the end of the news block, everybody. So.
Hopefully by then I'll be devoid of like energy, so I won't be like an absolute mad woman, but it'll be fine.
I mean, I hope you're not devoid of energy by the time we get to, your husbando section of the show.
Well, if I am, I'll just come right back. You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Okay, so the first thing that happened this week is the Nintendo Direct. And this was a surprise announcement. They literally announced it the day before it happened. They were like, surprise, we're having an announcement. And I thought it was interesting. And I should note that we are skipping over another big event that happened over the weekend because it's now old news. And we'll probably go over a little bit of, in case you missed it, about the Ubisoft Forward that happened, where they talked about a bunch of stuff like Assassin's Creed. But we're going to start with Nintendo Direct. And clearly, the big guns of the show, of the Nintendo Direct, was Breath of the Wild 2, also known as its official name, Tears of the Kingdom? Or is it Tears? We've been debating.
They did that on
It's
purpose.
Tears. It's definitely Tears.
And I'm with you.
What would the tears, like tears in the sky?
I mean,
100 links drop in to Hyrule. Whenever I see that
Terrifying.
shot, I just picture like,
Terrifying? No.
yes.
So, I mean, yeah, like I agree. I think Andrew scolded me on Twitter. I'm like, is it tears like crying or tear like I tore that ass up? But I do think it's tears. The more she was like,
That's what it
Brittany.
should have been called. Legend of Zelda, tear that ass up.
Yes, Janet, thank you. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So,
Oh.
so here's the thing. I'm pulling up my notes here because
Okay.
I got a whole.
Pull up your notes, girl.
I'm pulling them up. Okay, so I agree that it is likely tears, and here are the reasons why. So tears have played a role throughout the Zelda game, not in a major significant way, but if you look at Twilight Princess, where you have to collect the tears to dispel the twilight, that's one thing. It's in Spirit Tracks where you get the tears to enhance, I think it's their sword or something. But if you look at Andrea, my exhibits here, well, we're looking through the trailer right now.
Oh, well, yeah. If you want me to pull your exhibits up, I'm going to need a minute.
Okay. Well, we can watch the trailer and we can talk about this. So
There he is dropping in.
So if you tear
Through the tear.
Tearing through the sky.
It does look like Hyrule has been torn up, though, thus all of the floating things in the sky. But I'm telling you, they didn't say what it's called. And also, look at no stamina meter. I hope that's maybe.
No, I think
I
that's
think they
just
just
that
took the
there's no
UI out.
HUD in the
I
trailer.
know.
Well, you just think he's made of titanium now. He doesn't. He doesn't need stamina
I hate
anymore.
that damn thing. Okay, we can go to my exhibits
Really?
now.
How do you feel about the breakable weapons?
I hate it.
So do you in your dream world, you're in charge of Legend of Zelda, tear that ass up. Are there breakable weapons, or is everything just great?
Everything is just great. Nothing breaks. Like things.
So you got a stick, and you can just take that stick forever.
Yeah, but it's not going to do a lot of damage. I mean, granted, you can
Okay.
defeat Ganon with a stick. That would be really cool. Like, I'm not going to stop anyone from living their best life doing that, but absolutely not. And there would be a buttload of dungeons and no stamina meter. Like, you're just being annoying at that point.
It
Okay.
gives you something to aim for. You don't like feeling like you have something to aim for.
I have
Something-
enough.
something
I
out of-
have
just
enough
out of
actual
reach?
goals in my real life, Janet. I play video games to escape. Okay, I want to feel invincible when I play games.
Also, like related. You know how the horses you can have like that bone horse or whatever.
Oh,
that
yeah,
it's like just a skeleton of a horse. And when I was at the state fair, the Minnesota State Fair with MinMax, they had like a picture of a skeleton of a horse, and I'm like, it's just like in Breath of the Wild.
It's
my
real.
God.
My damn gamer brain,
Amazing.
but
Yeah, it's real.
Okay, so you
Okay,
ready to
exhibits.
go over your
Okay.
exhibits? Okay.
Okay,
Let's go over your exhibits.
Okay, so exhibit number 1. So
Okay.
this is called, I believe it's the Vessel of Light. Yeah, and so this is what Link collects in Twilight Princess. He collects the Tears of Light, and he fills up his little meter. And on the left, you can see it's not full. On the right, it's full.
So if you're watching at youtube.com/what'sgoodgames, Brittany has put together a Google Doc of exhibits to go along
Yeah.
with her
it's giving
dissection
it's giving
of
class presentation.
Absolutely.
But also,
Yes.
like, I didn't want to do a Google Slides. So
Oh,
I just-
absolutely not. Oh, no, this was a copy
Who's
paste.
got time for that?
Oh, yeah, this is Microsoft Paint job right here. Okay, cool. Scroll down. If you
Okay.
scroll down, here's the key art from the box art, right? So you see Link. Now look on his right, by his right hip. You see that, like, little
yeah.
glowy thing right there?
This thing, yes, this
Okay.
little green thing.
Okay, now keep going down.
Okay.
Okay, now look right there. See?
Ah.
See? So if you look, so
Is he collecting tears? That's horrifying.
I think he is though, and we're gonna get into that. But if you look right here in this photo, so this is a still from the trailer when he's about to jump off the cliff for some reason. He has 4 they look like little vessels that are full of these neon greeny
Little potion vials.
potion vials, right? And so there's 4 there. And it looks like he can put in 4 more. So we're assuming he's maybe like halfway collected his tears here, because apparently bitches be crying all over Hyrule. All right, keep going down. Okay, and then
Bitches
here.
be crying all over Hyrule.
So this, I don't know about y'all, but to me this looks like a tear. And this is from one of I think it's the first.
That's a big tear.
That's a big tear. From the first trailer. And this is when Link is, I don't know, he's like stepping into this little portal. He turns into a teardrop, and then he goes he ascends to the next level of Hyrule. So he's turning into a teardrop. Okay, tears. Great, cool. Okay, right here, this is from the very beginning of the latest trailer. Look at those little things, little apostrophe looking bitches above whatever the heck that is in the middle. There are 7 of those. Could they be classified as tears? I don't look like it could be tears to me.
They definitely look like apostrophes.
Okay, well, Andrea, come on, use your artistic mind, baby girl.
They look like 9s also, right? The
Okay.
number 9.
So here's my theory.
Like the movie 9.
Is there
Like,
7
that's
of
the connection?
damn it, y'all. So here's the 7 tiers. My hope is that means there are 7 dungeons. That was some feedback that a lot of us had as fans, was we want our dungeons back. So kind of like the sages from Ocarina of Time, maybe these are the tiers of whoever the hell. Sage is great. Okay, scroll down to the next exhibit.
Okay.
This is an amber relic.
A 9. Backwards.
It's definitely the same.
We're just going to call it Tear That Ass Up 9, Legend of Zelda.
What is this from?
This is from Skyward Sword. And these are amber relics that you can collect. Now, I don't believe this theory, but I wanted to throw this in here because some people are like, yo, that looks just like those little tier things above. I think it's just a coincidence, but these are collectibles that you get that you can use to upgrade your
This
gear.
is not a coincidence. That
But
these are the
but
two
those didn't really have any major.
That's what I was going to ask. What is the significance of these amber
you
relics?
use them, and I believe you upgrade your gear with them or something. And the description of it says no one knows where they came from. So unless amber relics turn out to be tears, there's also dusk relics in this game, which look just like this, but they're purple. So I don't know. Okay, next one. That looks like Zelda very much to me. I think it is supposed to be
it's definitely Zelda.
Right. Okay, now she's like holding hands with someone. Go down.
Or a girl pretending not to be Zelda.
Yeah, sure. And then here's your main splash screen, right? Now, if you look on the left, so this is a zoom out of Zelda from above.
Oh, we got the 9s up here.
So
again.
that's what I'm saying. Can you go back up again one more? Okay, if you look above her, it's kind of dark to see, but there are 2 air quote tiers above her, which look like then sun rays coming out from that, right? And then when you scroll down, she is holding hands with whatever the hell that big thing was in the very first picture with the 7 tiers above her head.
This
right
thing.
there. That's her. That's that.
Oh, so you think her hand is over here?
Yeah, that is. Well, I mean, it's a different glyph, but it's the same woman that or man or whatever that she's. Like,
this is some really deep internet sleuthing you've done.
And this isn't even deep compared to what some people are doing. Okay, then keep going down. And then here is, so the splash screen is on the left. You have these neon like Ouroboros things. Those very much, okay, this is from Tristan A. Cooper on Twitter. Those statues on the right come from Zonai, which is...
And this statue is from the...
Breath of the Wild.
The original Breath of the Wild.
Yes.
Okay.
The original Breath of the Wild. And so the Zonai are explained as this ancient warlike tribe that existed in Hyrule very, very long time ago. So the thought is, Tears of the Kingdom, why wouldn't you call this Tears of Hyrule? Could Tears of the Kingdom be Tears of the Zonai tribe, the Zonai world? Because that Ouroboros splash screen, those little green guys, match that. And so there's been a lot of thoughts because the Zonai also worked on the labyrinths in Breath of the Wild. They created all this stuff. So I think there's going to be some big-ass tie-in.
Wow. And we haven't even gotten to the RGG stuff yet.
No.
This is intense.
This is fun. I love this sort of stuff. And there's also a part in the beginning, in the very first trailer that we saw, where the music kind of reverses a little bit, which makes me wonder. It's when he turns into that tear and he like goes up, that tear picture I showed. Makes me wonder if there's going to be some sort of time travel going on, where he goes back to the time of the Zonai tribe. Maybe. And because there's different Links we see. We see Link with his long hair looking all, you know, like ancient and shit. And then we have Link in the modern day looking like he usually does. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some time travel stuff going on. Also, it's called Tears of the Kingdom. And historically, if you look at the Zelda titles, the titles always have something to do with like the main core of the gameplay. So that's where I'm at with that right now. But this is actually a pretty like surface level like dive in compared to what some people are doing out there. So if you're into that, there's so many fun theories out there.
Well.
I've been bottling that in.
This is
I appreciate
your
this
week,
because
Brittany.
I looked at this and I'm like, I'm gonna let the internet does what it does to be like, here are 87 things that you missed in this 30-second trailer.
Yeah. And then that picture of Zelda and whatever the heck that big monstrosity thing is, holding like hands with the 2 tiers above it. I'm wondering if the final tier is going to be like a combination from that thing and Zelda's at the very end, and that's going to be the final tier that unlocks something big.
So I have a question for you, Brittany. Yeah. As somebody who clearly got enthused and excited about dissecting the narrative.
I was aroused, yes.
In Tears of the Kingdom, I'm trying to grapple with your excitement, even though you never finished the original game.
Oh, I did.
But it took you how long to finish it?
Yeah, it took me a long. You beat it before I did. Absolutely.
I did. So
I feel welcome on this side of the table.
I felt like you didn't care really about the narrative in the game because obviously we talked about how it wasn't your favorite Zelda. Mm-hmm. You obviously have other Zeldas that you're passionate about, And so I'm like, I love to see this energy and fire from you. So what changed?
Hope. Blind.
That's a great reason. It's okay to hope.
No, honestly, this is what we do as Zelda fans. And you hear me do this with Pokemon too all the time, is we always, no matter how air quote disappointed we might be, we're always looking forward to the next one because we're suckers. And
You're not suckers, you're passionate fans.
And suckers, but yes, passionate fans too. And so you know what I think it is I'll say what I've always said. I think Breath of the Wild was a wonderful video game. Obviously, we all know how well it was received, but it wasn't my favorite Zelda game for some of the reasons I've talked about. Lack of dungeons. I thought the story kind of fell flat. I thought what they did with Age of Calamity with the Hyrule Warriors game really expanded on the lore of Breath of the Wild and got me even more excited because some of the stuff that happens in that game, you're like, oh, that really changes a lot. So I think that really helped. So I think I'm just hopeful that the next game, which is Tears of the Kingdom, will kind of scratch all those itches. I want that big world. I want those dungeons back. I don't want breakable weapons. I don't want a stamina meter, but we'll see what happens. And it's just the unknown.
Were the beasts not dungeony enough?
No.
Because that's the thing. Was it just like not hard enough to get through the beasts?
They all look the same.
Like I walked into some of those, and I'm still actually only like halfway, quote unquote, done with the game. I played 80 hours, and I just didn't finish it. So I'm like, I probably will pick up my save because the idea of putting another 80 hours from scratch to then do another 80 hours to finish it.
No, the best part
Probably
of
too
that
much.
game
Hard pass.
was
Yeah, it's too
Hyrule
much.
Castle. When I spent probably 3 hours in that thing, like going through the cells, going through all the rooms of that. That to me is what I want from a Zelda dungeon going forward.
I liked getting my cute clothes in the game.
You see,
that was
there
my
you
highlight.
go. The treasure hunts, like all that was
there
so
was
fun.
there was a lot
yeah.
to do, but I am amused by like I wouldn't say it's a split because I think there were plenty of like hardcore Zelda fans that did love Breath of the Wild and maybe did have it as their favorite, but there was that commentary from the hardcore community of like the dungeons and the big debate on the breakable weapons.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I like the breakable weapons.
Yeah.
I think. Do you think it won't? What is your current number one?
Zelda game?
Yeah.
Oh, Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's breakable weapons in this, do you think that automatically disqualifies it from being a favorite Zelda game?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah,
I will be curious to see.
Why
how this
wouldn't
shakes
they
out.
have the same weapon system?
I don't know.
Why would they overhaul that?
I don't know.
It's the same world, isn't it? Like the same engine that they made for Breath of the
Supposedly.
Wild.
I mean, they
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
whatever though. Like I don't know.
That's fair.
Or they
The
could
narrative,
or they
whatever.
could do like a mechanical loophole where it's like maybe there's a way where you can try to avoid the breakableness of certain weapons or something through like some additional buff or some like line you can take.
Well, Animal Crossing teased me with that. With the golden weapons,
yeah.
they were like, "Oh, these things can't break, except they technically can if you use them a lot." And it's like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah,
So that's not a gold weapon. You just
No.
painted a shovel.
I mean, like,
okay. What are you selling here with this?
I get why they did breakable weapons because there's so many different kinds of weapons in that game, and so it makes it so you don't have a Skyrim-esque inventory
Yeah.
of 500 weapons that you're consistently like bashing through.
I did feel the pain though of like you find that one that you like and you're like, well, I don't even want to use it because then it's just gonna break.
Right. Once I got the Master Sword, then I felt better because that lasted longer.
But
and
it
then-
takes a while to get the
right,
Master
and
Sword.
that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
It does take a while.
we'll see what happens. I'm very excited to see what happens, though. Also, where is Zelda? It's fine.
There was a lot of other news that happened in the Nintendo Direct, but we're not going to go through all of it. I do want to hear, Brittany, if you were even mildly excited about the Fire Emblem trailer that kicked everything off.
Oh, I squealed like a little bitch. Absolutely. I'm excited for Fire Emblem.
Amazing.
Yeah, so here's what we know about Fire Emblem. Janet, are you a Fire Emblem fan?
No, not yet. But
Okay.
I'm ready to become one because
Okay,
everyone
good.
says the games are fire, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to check this
Three
out. But it's
Houses
like, when
is-
do I have my entire lifetime to get to this game?
Yeah.
That's the dicey part.
That's hard. No. Three Houses is really good if you want to dive in. It's one of my favorite games ever. Okay, so
Fire Emblem Engage.
engage these nuts is what I want to say. So thank you to Rebecca Valentine for this little article she wrote up. But okay, so Engage will focus on a new protagonist, Alier, who is known as a divine dragon and is a member of a royal family that was once revered as deities. But I think you can play as male or female. He's been asleep for 1,000 years when he awakes at the start of the game. So what's interesting is that engaged characters appear to be paired in some spiritual way with past Fire Emblem characters. So we see Alier paired with Marth, for example, which is kind of interesting. Like, how are they? We need Alexa here, but like, how are they going to bring back all those different Fire Emblem characters? Who could say? So that's pretty much all we really know. We got to see some snippets from the gameplay trailer. There's town building and relationship elements because, of course, there is. It's a Fire Emblem game coming out January 20th, 2023. this game did leak a while ago, and I don't know if y'all saw it, but it looked like the striped Crest toothpaste, I think it is, where you got the blue and the red going on. And the man's hair, it's like kind of obnoxious, whatever. But then you look at the woman's hair, and it's just like this big, like bright ass bushy hair that like goes down to the like floor, and it's bright red and bright blue, and looks a little distracting. But no, I'm excited to see more. I mean, it comes out soon, so clearly
January.
we're gonna be getting more of it.
Just a couple months away.
Yeah, Fire Emblem Three Hopes really re-engaged my love for that series, so definitely excited to see more.
They also announced It Takes Two is coming to Nintendo Switch, so if you missed that last year and you want to play it, you can do that on Switch. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is getting an expansion. Another one, I think. This is like the second one, right?
It's their second one, yeah. They have a not a battle pass, a season pass. I don't know what to call it. But
Expansion pass, I think.
That's what it is. Yeah, and it's
name.
just the second shtick that's finally being unlocked.
They confirmed some more stuff coming for Splatoon 3, which is currently out. And then a bunch of other things, including Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life.
Oh, let's go farming. Okay.
This week
And this
was
is one
the
of
week
the
for
good
Farming
ones,
Sims.
is the thing. Because that's the thing with Story. Like, when I saw this, I wasn't, like, I have not played Story of Seasons, but I know that, you know, the whole split of, like, Harvest Moon team, that's not Story of Seasons. But I have heard, like, in the modern era that kind of each of those franchises has petered a bit. But it seems like I saw a lot of people on my timeline being like, this was the game that, like, transcended my life when I was like, I'm like, okay, so this is one of the fire ones from, like, earlier
From
days
the GameCube era. Yeah, so this is interesting because I don't think I ever played this Harvest Moon back in the day. It came out in like 2003. I don't know what I was doing with my life. I was in high school. It was a weird time. But yeah, what's interesting about this is another game that is now getting the Story of Seasons label slapped onto it. We had Story of Seasons, Friends of Alt. No, that's the new one that came out. There was one Simon and I played. That they remade.
I got that one too. What was that?
What was that called? I can't remember. But it was really fun.
They got great cows in that game.
They have
that franchise
great
in general.
cows. Oh yeah.
Some of the best cows in
The
gaming.
strawberry cows are so
Strawberry.
cute.
Yes, that's the one. So yeah, this is a full remake of Harvest Moon.
Yeah, no, it was Pioneers of Olive Town.
That's the new one, but they
Friends of Mineral Town.
That's it. Yeah. The Story of Seasons, Friends of
Totally
Mineral Town
different.
was the remake.
How could you even mix them up?
Come on, Andrea.
I mean, listen, I'm just looking at the Wikipedia.
It's like
article,
night
okay?
and later that night. Like,
So
come
what's
on.
interesting
It
about
really
this one
is.
is you have A Wonderful Life, which you could only play as a male, and then a couple
Right.
years later you had Another Wonderful Life that came out where you could actually play as a female. And in this one, you can play as male, female, or non-binary, which is an awesome
Progress.
There we go.
You'd love to see it.
Yeah. And so what's cool about this one is that you can actually age in it. And
Oh yeah, it got
Is that
kind of
cool, though?
existential. I
Are
was
we okay
like,
with that?
do you die of old age in the game?
I don't know because I never played this one, and I can't believe
If you
I
go
never
hard
did.
in this game, it's like I'm 507 years old now. Like you're
I'm
just
507
reaching
spring on
immortality.
this farm.
I love it.
We also got. I have a few more farm games written down, Andrea.
Yeah. Sure, go
Fae
for it.
Farm.
Yeah, so this
which-
is new from the folks that made
Dauntless.
Yes, what? Yeah, there
I
you go.
got you, girl.
Mhm.
I got you. Yeah, so this is, I guess, like you'll work to bring peace back to a troubled land. You'll kick back and leisurely explore various environments, collect resources, and build homesteads. Sounds pretty cut and dry. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is they say, oh, farming sim, they're all the same. And it's like, but they're not. I'm playing Harvestella right now with the demo that came out. And on the surface, yeah, it looks all the same. Like you have crops, you have characters you have to build relationships with, upgrade your tools, upgrade your house, blah, blah, blah. But each game goes at a different pace, and each game has its own personality.
Yeah.
It's like saying all battle royales are the same.
Exactly. It's not true. So open your mind. Don't be so ignorant, you bastards.
Yeah. There was also new Octopath Traveler 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That looks great.
These are cranking out fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very fast.
Rune Factory 3 is coming to Switch, and then they confirmed that a new Rune Factory series is in development, and then Harvestella got a new look, and they got a demo. Like, it's a good time to harvest some crops.
There was also Pikmin 4, which I
That
thought
was
was a
huge.
really interesting, because Pikmin 3 was not that big of a game, and Pikmin, as far as the Nintendo stable of first-party IPs goes, is kind of at the bottom of the barrel in popularity. But I think it's cute that they're bringing it back. They also talked about this AR game, which is very much in the vein of Pokemon Go, that is going to be coming as well.
I thought Bloom was already out.
Oh, is
Right,
Bloom
Pikmin
out?
Bloom? Yeah.
Yeah, that's out.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't keep up with all.
They
the-
just
all the
highlighted it.
hotness-
I think
but
they-
the hotness of the
but that's
AR
why
games.
they
No, but
highlighted.
that was also the wild part because I just really went through all the stages of grief watching that segment because it was like I'm like Miyamoto's here, everyone shut up, even though I'm the only one
Mario!
talking. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just excited to see him. And then he's like, we have our movie coming out and Universal Studios, and I'm like, cool. we don't see anything for it. And it's like, instead of showing you a photo or saying anything, that's all I'm going to say. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that was
And
weird.
he's like, now I want to talk
tease?
about Pikmin Bloom. And I was like, I know you're on bringing Miyamoto just to talk about Pikmin Bloom. And that's no shade to Pikmin Bloom. I know people that play it and like, oh, they get the Pikmin different hats. And I'm like, cool. But I'm like, oh, is this really what they brought Miyamoto out for?
That was the deepest dive we got during that entire
Oh, yeah.
presentation, and it was for Pikmin Bloom.
Yeah, and then finally, that's when Pikmin 4 appeared. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. You weren't, you knew, you understood, okay.
You ended
Because I'm like,
well.
I know you didn't bring Miyamoto out here to tell me about Pikmin Bloom. Like,
yeah.
I know that's not what you did. And then he had his new shirt on. He's like,
did.
I have a new shirt. I was like, did he wardrobe change in the middle of this
have.
show? But yeah.
It is pre-taped, but
Yeah.
I mean, I got hot and bothered by GoldenEye coming back. I would really
Hey.
like an honest-to-God remake of that game, but I know that that's probably hoping for too much. But they announced a slew of N64 games finally coming to Switch. I think a lot of us were hoping that this was going to happen. I think a lot of us assumed that they were going to be making an N64 Classic Edition, like we got the little mini NES and the mini N60 or Super NES. I was like, "Where's the mini N64? Like, why is
Yeah.
that not a thing?" And then they're like, "Chip shortage." So we're not making any of those, at least not yet.
What I'm excited about for GoldenEye is I've only played that game very casually with an ex-boyfriend.
Well, let me change your mind about how great
See?
that game is.
Well,
okay?
yeah, and with the air quote here, online play, air quote,
why you on
on
air quoting?
Nintendo Switch, because the Nintendo Switch is the only console where you can actually play online with someone. You can't do it on the Xbox.
That's true.
Because I think, and I saw someone try to explain it, but when you're playing it on Switch, you're essentially streaming it, and then you can invite someone to come join you, which is why you can play it with someone else, but that's it. So I don't really know. I guess technically it is online, but
Did they confirm if there's local multiplayer? Because that's all we did back in the day is local multiplayer.
They
They didn't
so.
technically say so, but it's pretty like heavily assumed. I think it's safe to assume. It'd be so weird if it wasn't. Yeah, I think they would have addressed that by now if that was the case. But
yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited to bust that cherry open.
that was quite the word picture. But I was just excited to see them really come out with the heavy hitters for Nintendo Switch Online. I think certainly there's been a lot of criticism about the cadence in which they put out games and also the quality of the games. Sometimes they are like these nostalgic hits, and then sometimes it's like Zaboomafoo 57 is coming to Nintendo Switch. And I'm like, what is this? And then someone on Twitter is like, okay, so a lot of you guys don't know about this game, but actually it was really good.
on Twitter.
Yeah, it was actually really good. I played like 87 hours when I was 8 years old, and if you haven't downloaded it, you should. And I'm like, okay.
Wait, is this a real game?
No, I hope not. I'm like, no one knows what you're talking about, old man. Okay, but here I'm like, as soon as they said N64, I'm like, please bring the banger games. And even though I'm not a GoldenEye person, I recognize that's a hit.
Yeah.
That. What is it? Is it 1080 snowboarding, right?
So it's Pilot Wing 64, Mario Party 2, 3,
Pokemon
Pokemon
1
Stadium
and
1,
2.
1080 snowboarding, Excitebike 64.
Yeah.
So we're getting Mario Party this year, GoldenEye coming soon, and then I think the other ones.
How do you
are
guys feel
next year.
about getting like Mario Party after getting Mario Party Superstars, where it's like that kind of remake of those old games? Does that kind of dampen the excitement, or is
I
it?
mean,
Nintendo
I'm not
thing.
excited. To me, it's just added value.
Yeah.
It's like you're not getting this for those games, but if you have a Nintendo Online subscription, it's, a good thing that you can just pull up while you're trying to have fun with some.
Yeah,
fun
I'm really
gaming.
excited for Pokemon Stadium 2 because I have never played it. I only played one, and also for one, I'm always playing the mini games. Like I still have my N64 set up on my main TV, and when I'm like feeling some type of way, I'm like, I want Joy right now, who's queuing up with these mini games, and I'm like, thank God I can play these on a controller where the joystick isn't like meltedly stiff into the controller, because all of mine are old. They're not like my original hardware. And whoever like used Game Store I got it from, I'm like, clearly this owner did not take care of this device, but also it didn't age like that well from a hardware standpoint. So yeah, man, the Iken's Toss, the Magikarp Jump, the Licky Tongue Sushi Store. I'm ready to do
I
it
know
all.
exactly
All
everything
those.
you're referring to.
Oh,
100%. Yeah. No,
Licky
It's time to unlock the magic of Pokemon
Magikarp.
Stadium.
Unlock the
You'll
magic
like
of
it.
Magikarp.
Yes. Kids Club. You'll have fun, I promise.
And you are wearing this wonderful Magikarp shirt today.
I am, thanks. It is all my Magikarp friends.
I should have brought my little floppy Magikarp out here.
Oh, it needs to be a new bit.
Yeah.
You just turn him on and
Just
he flops around every once in a
Throw
while.
the floppy Magikarp on the desk.
Yeah.
But that's not all, everybody. There was still more. Can you believe it? In this Nintendo Direct, we got another look at Bayonetta 3, which I'm very excited about. It's coming out next month on October 28th. So that looks great. We also found out that golf is finally coming to Nintendo Switch Sports, but it's not as when they said. It's now coming holiday 2022. I still don't know why it's taking them so long to put golf into Switch Sports, but
Yeah.
it's taking them a while. They want to get it right. And then Britt, Resident Evil,
Hey.
coming to the Switch.
Yep, via cloud,
Cloud.
baby. So it's Resident Evil Village 2, 3 remake, and then 7. And there you go. You gotta play those babies on cloud. Cool. Was that my recommended way of playing them? Absolutely not. But if all you have is a Switch, do it.
But the Life is Strange Arcadia Bay Collection, excellent place to play.
There you go, yeah.
It's a good couch game.
Yeah.
But there's so many more things. I just feel like I can't go over
Yeah,
all
I
of this.
mean, there's Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which is coming to Switch. It looks cute.
Yeah, that was cool, yeah.
Viva la Kirby. Great. Yeah, there's a lot.
Kirby's
It was a
carrying
lot.
Nintendo this year at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Sifu's coming to Switch.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And that thing looked real rough. Like the jagged edges, the frames, like
Oh, shout out Jacket Edge.
yeah,
One of my
which is
favorite
like
R&B groups.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's definitely still a pain point of the Switch. I think as time goes on, the gap of even like the Resident Evil thing, like as soon as that drops, it's like okay, it's probably gonna be cloud, and then it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there was like a bunch of stuff. That weird game id.
Oh,
looked
dude,
really
that
cool.
looks good. Yeah.
Apparently, it's like an RPG Maker game. Like Sarah Prozorski
Oh, it
on
is?
MinMax was like putting me on that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like when she saw this, like I wasn't there for the reaction stream like on MinMax, but apparently she was like, "Oh my god, is this it?" and like knew all these details about it. So like, I don't know,
She's
hit
the guy
up
on
Sarah she's the guy on Twitter. Oh no, Sarah, I would never say that about you willingly. You're absolutely better than random old white dude on Twitter talking about. Actually, this is well, it looked good though. It actually did look good.
It did,
Like
it's
creepy and weird.
It looks creepy. So it's a 2D exploration game, and you go to an art museum, and then of course, Ib, I think is her name. Is that how? I don't know. This character goes to the back of like the art gallery, and there's a creepy ass picture there, and then it's a horror game, and things go bad very quickly. Spring 2023 is when it's coming out. It kind of reminds me of that one game. You won't remember what I'm talking about. Never mind. Move on.
What is it? I gotta know.
Okay,
Kind of reminds me of that one game. Just
it was
kidding.
that creepy game I played on 3DS, like in 2017.
I want to know it so bad just to be like, see?
No,
What is it?
It was a horror game that takes place in a school.
Damn. No, I'm
No,
not gonna have it.
See, I'm gonna have to figure out what it is. but
Okay,
I'll
you
know.
look for it because I want to wrap up talking about Nintendo because there's still so much more to go. Any final thoughts before
Corpse
we?
Party.
I
that
remember
sounded
that
familiar.
game.
Yeah. Corpse Party.
That was a weird game.
That was so fucking
because
weird.
at surface level, it looks like it's not as creepy and dark as it actually was.
Oh, it's fun in so many ways. So wrong.
Yeah.
No, this was a really good direct. This really catered to my interest. All the farming games, Octopath 2, the new Zelda look, Bayonetta obviously looks great. So this was really great for me. It was a lot of.
It was a banger.
It was literally a banger.
arguably one of the best directs we've had in years.
Yeah, good job, Nintendo. You did it.
You did the thing.
For me, I was like a little bit not as excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it's just that like I think the hottest thing was that Breath of the Wild release date, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
But it is like a big deal thing of like a pretty known quantity of like what we've seen before.
Mm.
And yeah, I think for me,
So May 2023,
Yes.
by the way.
I would have, and it's also like kind of far away. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, but also like I think if it was just a little bit shorter with those same highlights, it would have elevated a bit. And even though I like farming games as well, like I'm down for that genre. But in general, I'm not a big fan of when a showcase feels too packed with a certain genre. Like we ran into that with forgetting what showcase it was. Was it maybe Keely's game?
Opening Night Live.
Yes, Opening Night Live, where it was like all space games.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
same deal.
He started that with Summer Game Fest. That was like the space
Yes.
games, and then he continued it with Opening Night
Yeah,
Live.
so that's kind of my only beef. But one thing I want to touch on briefly before we move on is the Splatoon 3 Splatfest, which I'm forgetting the exact 3 names of the choices. It's like Grub, Fun, or Gear. Like, what do you bring to Desert Island? So 1, are you guys Splatoon fans? And then 2, what would you choose for?
I
your team.
enjoy my time with Splatoon. To call me a fan might be a bit of an overstatement.
Yeah, you know,
I like it though. I think it's a really fun, unique, innovative game.
I have.
I just only got so much time.
I mean,
That's
that's
fair.
where I'm at too. Is I have a code in my inbox and I want to hop into the single player shenanigans.
The single player is really good.
That's what I've heard because all I've ever played, and this was at PAX for the very first one, I think is what I played, or was it E3, one or the other, was the multiplayer stuff.
Okay.
And I'm just not a huge like multiplayer person.
No, it's totally fair. I do think the campaign is really fun, especially in 3. But you know, even though you guys won't be splatting up for real, if you had to choose,
We won't be
There's
splatting
3.
up for real.
yeah. Gear, grub, or fun. What do you bring to Desert Island? Where would you align yourself?
Grub for sure.
Really?
I don't
Okay.
want to have to search for my food. I can find.
How much grub can you
I
realistically
can find,
bring, though?
I can find fun anywhere.
How much do you think you're going to be able to pack realistically? A month's worth tops? That food's going to go bad.
But okay, so
That'll keep me going for a month while I figure out what I can eat on
What
the
your next
island.
move is. Okay.
you know, I feel like it's a logical choice to pick grub because I mean, like, you know, you can't feed yourself off of fun.
Okay.
What-
I feel like I'd go gear. I think is the most logical because you can use the gear
would help you
to help you get the grub. But I might go rogue and go fun for the actual team.
because you're like, I'm gonna die anyway on this island.
well, it's like you're
May as well
telling
go
you're
have
telling
fun.
me if I brought a pack of Uno cards, you wouldn't be fucking thrilled to like play that. You know, as one of
Well,
our core
this is why we
entertainment.
should team up though. Like I'll bring the grub, you bring the fun, Britt brings the gear.
More grub.
I'll bring more grub.
Fine.
But yeah, like I want to like lightly applaud. I guess I'll just fully applaud, right? I thought it was a really creative like angle for like a big thing for Splatoon 3 is there's now 3 choices and like they do
Oh,
3
I see.
teams
Yeah,
for
yeah.
these Splatfests. And I was thinking like what kind of stuff can they do? Like they did rock paper scissors for the test launch, which is so smart. And I think this was like a good use. Like I'm sure at one point they'll whip out like something whack like last game where they had socks versus sweaters. When have I ever been comparing those two things?
Dang,
Never.
what do I want? Socks or sweaters?
Yeah, I've
today?
never been like, should I put on a sweater or put on some socks?
Like, are you gonna go out buck ass naked in
I
negative
haven't-
weather?
I would
and
go
choose
I'm like, is
sweater,
this a cultural
sweater,
gap? Is there
yeah.
like a place in the world where that's a conversation point? I don't
Yeah,
know.
You can't. We're both. You can't have socks and sweaters.
No
on.
idea. But I thought it was a good first
No, it's
Splatfest.
fun.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, that's it.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. This episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like leaving your keys in your car while you run into the gas station for a snack. Now, most of the time, you're probably going to be fine. But what if you come back to see someone driving off with your car? Well, don't leave yourself exposed online. Keep your car, everybody. Get ExpressVPN. Now, every time you connect to an unencrypted network, whether it's at a car or a cafe, a hotel, airports, you name it, any hacker on that same network can gain access to your personal data, like passwords, your financial details, pretty much anything you're sending across the web. Now, and it doesn't take much technical know-how to hack someone. Just some cheap hardware is needed these days. And let's face it, even a smart 12-year-old could probably get it done. Now, hackers can also profit off your personal data, which is obviously why they do it in the first place, right? And some can even make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. So when you see those news stories about millions of people getting their data hacked, now you know how much money they're truly making. Now, I like using my ExpressVPN when I'm out and about on public Wi-Fi because their technology creates an encrypted tunnel between my device and the internet. So it protects my sensitive data. And so it's easy to connect to free Wi-Fi, right? We're out at a coffee shop, we're in hotels, or maybe we're at a convention, and you just pop on the Wi-Fi that's available, and boom, thieves are there just waiting to strike. Now, I can't have schmucks on the web finding out how much I'm searching for boho baby decorations, right? So I like to use my ExpressVPN whenever possible. And I don't like complicated software. I need stuff to be easy. So all you have to do is fire up the app, hit the connected button, and boom, you're protected. And it works on all devices like phones, laptops, tablets, and more. So you can stay secure on the go. If you want to secure your online data, do it today by visiting expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames. That's ExpressVPN, expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames, and you can get an extra 3 months free when you sign up. That's expressvpn.com/whatsgoodgames so that they know we sent you. We're talking big video game news of the week. So, of course, Sony got in on the action with a new state of play. I had someone on Twitter point out that this was not a Sony showcase, which we have talked about before. This was a state of play. And Janet, you clearly are the Sony Pony at the table
I guess
as
I
one
am.
of the co-hosts of the PlayStation I Love You XOXO. Is that the official name?
P.S. I love you.
Yeah. Oh, I unabbreviated it. You can find that. Where can
God
people find
forbid.
that show again?
All your favorite podcast services and on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames.
Wonderful. Look, you nailed it.
There
I
we
just
go.
recently posted a clip of one Paris Lily not nailing it. Was
Oh my gosh.
When we asked him about his competing XCast show.
He was like, ah.
If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready, you know?
Oh, boom. I like it. So instead of me running down a synopsis, no, that's not the word.
I like
A synopsis of everything that happened. I want to start with asking you, what was the thing from this state of play that you were like, boom, that's the announcement?
Oh, oh man, that's rough.
It can be your favorite announcement or what you thought was the biggest announcement.
I think
Your
the
choice.
biggest thing, I'll do a little bit of A, a little bit of B. I'm going to cheat.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing was still that God of War story trailer that we got at the end.
Oh, yes. I did actually pull that one.
Yeah, you know, actually, I'm going to go with that. I'm not even
No,
going to cheat.
that's
That
probably
is
the
the
right
biggest
choice.
thing.
That's probably the right choice.
Yeah.
We're talking game of the
And
year
it was
contender, right?
there, like, one more thing, and they had the controller fake out.
Oh, yeah. I was like, there's no way they're just showing this cool controller, granted.
Well, they did that to us at opening night live, where Jeff was like, "Sony's got a big announcement," and then they were like, "Pro controller."
Well, that
And I
was at
like,
least
no,
the pro
come on.
controller, but big
Are you
announcement.
not a fan of the controller?
No,
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I'd like to see it close up. I'd like them to do a little bit more and get a little more creative with it, which granted, maybe that's a restriction of like when you're mass producing something, there's obviously limitations.
Yeah.
But I feel like so often like those custom controllers for like game specific stuff, it's like color and icon. Like I could see that being like, oh, it's red, and then you put the Spider-Man logo in the middle. Like I feel like it could be any. You can kind of swap out that design. So I would want like maybe like I don't know runes like on the controller like really small, which maybe they did do. I didn't look at a close up
There
of
were
it.
some, yeah, you're right. I've seen some really cool controllers. I think of the latest Gears controller was really cool. The Forza one on Xbox, really cool.
I'd like to see something that feels like I can't kind of swap out stuff easily and make it a new IP.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, so this God of War Ragnarok trailer.
Yeah. I feel like this was
It's sexy.
a reminder that, like, in case you forgot, this game's going to be probably a
Amazing.
masterpiece. I think especially because there's been, I wouldn't say a lot of discourse around God of War in a negative way, but there has been, like, an anticipation that has turned to light doubt. Like, I've seen from some spaces on the internet where people are like, oh, I don't know. I mean, is it going to feel different enough? Is it going to be as good as 2018? Maybe I'm, a different person now and it's not going to hit the same way. Like, I've seen everything about this. I think the weight around the release date also weighed very heavily on the hype of this game for some people, not everyone. And I feel like this was like Sony Santa Monica being like, in case you forgot,
We made the best game of the last 10 years.
this is about to be another banger game. So I think it definitely lent itself to excitement. I think too, we talked about this a bit earlier today when I recorded Min-Max, but like Ben had pointed out the enemy variety, like them kind of really highlighting that because that definitely was a concern in the community on like, is that, let's think of what are the weakest parts of God of War 2018 and will they kind of improve and iterate on that. But yeah, I mean, it looks beautiful.
hairs, right? Like,
Oh,
what's
yeah.
the weakest parts of that
Exactly,
game?
the weakest part of a masterpiece game. But yeah, it looked fantastic. I'm excited to play this game. I don't know anyone that saw this and wasn't made to be a little more excited for this game, which is a mark of a great trailer.
On online. I think I'm at the point officially where I don't want to know any more about God of War.
That too.
I saw this trailer. I got really excited. I'm really, really anxious to see how the relationship between Kratos and Atreus has evolved. There's a lot of interaction in this trailer, but there's one in particular where essentially Atreus is like, you gotta trust me, and Kratos is like, what have I been doing? I have been trusting you. And that's hard for thick-headed Kratos. But I'm at the point, though, I don't want to read any analysis on this. I don't want to look too much into it. I don't want to do any of that because, my God, like, I just want to go into this knowing as little as possible. It just looks so good.
Yeah, there's like a real like whimsy and mysticism to it. Like, I think if there's one thing I want to characterize God of War as,
that scale.
It's the awe-inspiring nature of God of War. I think is one of the biggest appeal points of this reboot of the franchise, where
the originals also nailed that too.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's something I think people forget when you go back and look at some of the older God of Wars. Like Sony Santa Monica at the studio has really kind of made that their calling card. And what they accomplished by revamping it in the reboot brought it to a bigger audience and reminded people, hey, we stand alone and we make games like this. And I really wish more consumers understood the sheer amount of work it takes to like execute that scale in a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of work goes into
people,
the
we
simplest
talked about
little
this
thing.
earlier, and we talked about could anybody step to Elden Ring for Game of the Year? And we all said this was the
Yes.
game
This is it, yeah.
that could step to them for a Game of the Year. And this trailer got me so hyped.
And I think that, like, I think this would probably end up being my game of the year, like, when it's all said and done. Right now, mine's Horizon, because it's like, it can't be Elden Ring because I'm not good enough to care to get good enough to care about it, you know?
Yeah.
I spent my time, then I'm like, I'm going to leave. I just don't want to do the work today. So it's going to be, like, I think that split of, like, there's people that were really into it, that played it, that understand how to get through a game that's of that genre. And then there's like anyone else. It's like it's Elden Ring or it's like that other thing. And it's like who's gonna take that second chair right now? I think it probably will be God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that wild to think that we are in such an amazing year of video games, and 2023 is even going to blow 2022 out of the water, that God of War Ragnarok could be the runner-up.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. I never thought of it that way. That really is a testament to what's coming out in the space right now.
Wow. Because that was the same year, the first God of War, that Red Dead Redemption 2 came out.
And they beat
were-
Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, they dethroned Rockstar. It'd be like pushing Naughty Dog aside for a win in most of the categories. So I think this was super exciting to see. I'm like you, Britt, like I kind of don't want to see anymore. I want to have that player discovery. And traditionally, you know, PlayStation has invited us in the past to go play these games in advance. And I remember for the original God of War 2018, they only did one preview event. And they showed us a decent chunk of it. And I was glad to have seen it at the time because with the reboot, I think a lot of press was like, we don't know if this is going to be good. Like, we don't know if it's going to live up to its legacy, if it could come out of the shadow of all the problems with the original games. And clearly, like, it's, you know, a masterpiece of video game making, which we've talked about. So now it's like, well, do we need to see more from this game? I kind of don't want to see anything else.
I feel
Yeah.
like we don't need to see anything
It's like a
more.
weird mix. Like I don't really care to see more from like a player standpoint, and I think also it's a little unique to media. Like we know we're gonna most likely like get to maybe play it early, stuff like that. So it's like okay, gearing up to do the job, which is also to play the game, which you would have done even if you didn't have the job. So it's a weird space to be in.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they did show it in the sense that people have been asking for a little bit more, and I think the bit that they had shown before didn't really. Like, I think this trailer is just so far above, like, the things they have shown before. Because a lot of what we saw prior to this did feel like, well, okay, it's going to be more God of War. But, you know, it wasn't really as exciting. And I think this trailer provided that excitement. I think the only way it could have been beefed up, I would have loved to see this trailer and then the date. We got the date, of course, earlier in the blog post. But it would have been such a good pairing. But, like, I get kind of why those end up being separated, you know, marketing reasons, I'm sure. But, like, that would have been, like, such a mind-blowing moment, like at a state of play, like if anything else, like that would have been so cool. But the trailer's still really nice.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. That's November 9th this year, by the way. So, yeah, set the calendars.
It's coming up.
So there was, of course, a couple other things that happened during the state of play, and just kind of scrolling through this, Brittany, it looks like there was some. A little bit of the beginning of the YAKUZAPALOOZA that happened this week.
It happened. I screamed and I shed a few tears. So, yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Ishin.
Oh,
Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't follow what you said, and then I was so like on my own track here. Yes,
I understand.
It's okay, thank you. Yeah, Yakuza Ishin. So the fact that this game is coming west is just a testament to how far this entire series has come, and I am just so freaking excited. Okay, so we're not calling it Yakuza anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We're calling it Like a Dragon.
Okay.
In Japan, Ryuga Gotoku has always meant like a dragon, and that's the name of the studio that makes these games, but it's always been called like a dragon series in Japan. So it's just like a new branding thing. So just get used to it. I'm going to slip up, take a shot every time I do it. It happens.
Oh, take a shot every time you slip up?
Every time I slip up.
Okay, that's intense.
We're all going to get fucked up. All right, anyway, so this is a spin-off of the Yakuza, and I can call it that because that's what it is. Yakuza games that came out in 2014 in Japan, and it features all of the characters. Oh, there's my husband! husband, daddy. I'm sorry. He's wet. He's in a
What's his name again?
Majima.
A lot of Yakuza is just like have a hot person and then they take their shirt off. Like
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
a
Muscles
good
rippling
hallmark
in the rain.
of the
Yep.
franchise.
Okay, so this is, and I quote from the PlayStation blog, an action-adventure historical thriller set uniquely in 1860s Kyo, a fictionalized version of Kyoto. While other games tell earlier stories in Japanese history, Ishin lets you experience the story of how the iconic samurai era vanished. Our hero, Sakamoto Ryoma, is a true historical figure largely credited with overthrowing the shogunate and taking Japan into radical reformation. So, in this case, Kiryu is Sakamoto Ryoma. And what's really cool about this is that when this game originally came out, the last Yakuza game was Yakuza 5. So we didn't have 0 and we didn't have 6 yet, and we didn't have Like a Dragon. So what they're doing though with this is they're including characters from 0, Like a Dragon, and 6. So it's a complete remake. They're using the Unreal Engine 4, so they're not using their Dragon Engine, I think is what it was called. And they're doing it. Like the fact that this game is coming out. There was a time when folks didn't even know, because I wasn't a Yakuza fan at the time, but just from the research I've done, you know, when Yakuza 3 came out, there was lots of rumors, like, is this game ever going to come west? And a lot of folks were saying it wasn't. It wasn't until Lost Judgment that we got the simultaneous release worldwide for one of their titles. And now we're getting this, like, day and date. This is, like, as far as Yakuza games go, this is about as Japanese as it gets. This is part of this significant in Japanese culture. There was always a fear that it wouldn't resonate with folks in the West. But now we're getting it because of the success of Like a Dragon. And so it's just a really cool thing that it's happening. And I'm just thrilled for it. So I can't wait. And so it's all of our favorite characters. But obviously now they're just kind of like put in these other roles with completely different names.
I'm happy for you.
Thanks.
I'm very happy for you. A bunch of other things happened in the state of play. I think most of them are...
I want to give a shout out to Pacific Drive.
Sure.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is a, quote, run-based first-person driving survival game. So as you explore the zone, which takes place in the Olympic Peninsula, which is the place I've gone to throughout my entire life. So, like, that's pretty cool. It's kind of creepy and woodsy. You know how I am with trees.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They're your favorite.
Yeah. So my understanding, Janet, you might know more about it than I do because it sounds like you're excited about it, is that you're in this car and your only way to escape is to go through the Olympic Peninsula and to get out of there. So it's kind of like a roguelite. They actually have a clever name for it, but I don't know.
Like road-like?
Road-light, that's what it is, yeah.
No,
I'm like, we've gone too far. Yeah, something like we have gone too far.
Yeah.
Copywriting was a
Somebody's
mistake.
fired.
Yeah. So you have to do your best to go out and scavenge for resources and make sure your car is like in tip-top shape and just keep exploring. And I'm assuming eventually leave. But obviously it resonates with me because this takes place essentially in my backyard. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for me, what really drew me to it was just the initial like trailer look. It was a fun tease in that it was so like moody and also really puts you in that space of being in the car. Like you got a really, this like sounds so like arbitrary, but a really like good look at the dashboard and it had like these kind of little gadgets and gizmos
It was
on
giving
it.
me like Ghostbusters vibes.
Yeah, actually, a lot of my chat was like, "Is this Ghostbusters?" And then it's weirdly spooky and very moody. And I think also it's just kind of a unique idea. I mean, obviously driving games are not new, but the idea of having a different twist and this idea of like, how else can we use a car in the driving mechanic? I was like, this looks really cool. And I think it's the studio's debut game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ironwood Studios.
Yeah. And I always get a kick out of just whatever is new, whether it's like a new entry in a franchise or a new studio dropping something. I'm like, let's see what this is about. It's something fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Let's check it out. So I'm excited to follow this.
Yeah, no, I'm excited too. That was probably my second. And then there's the Age of Ronin. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the 2024
Rise of
game.
the Ronin.
Rise of the
From
Ronin.
Teen Ninja.
Yeah, that looks real good. We're not getting that for a while. But, hello. Like, I'm absolutely into that. Let's go. Takes place. Oh, combat-focused open-world action RPG in 19th century Japan. Say no more. Yeah.
It feels to me like it's going to take some vibes. Obviously, people are comparing Assassin's Creed, but it felt a little bit more like a combo of, I mean, I guess like not Sekiro because there wasn't really like a huge focus on stealth in that game, and not
Ghost
of Tsushima. I mean, but I guess technically you could play that really stealthy if you wanted to.
You could.
Yeah.
Who did that?
and one time you had to, and that mission was bad.
Yeah, being sneaky and going in guns blazing or swords blazing. Gosh, we have so much. There's so much to talk about because I haven't even talked about the Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Red. And Japanese Assassin's Creed's actually happening.
Oh my God, Codename Red.
Codename
Let's
Red?
go.
Ugh.
Oh, I'm here for it. I'm here for that. Give me that big fat Assassin's Creed open world RPG game for that setting.
Yeah,
For that.
Shinobi.
Yep.
Feudal Japan.
Oh.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but I mean, I don't really want to dwell too much on some of these other announcements from the State of Play, unless one of you ladies are like, "Excuse me, can we talk about?" No,
No.
I think
excellent,
that was
because we've
kinda
got
it.
the YAKUZAPALOOZA Power Hour.
Okay,
Yes.
here we go.
to get to, because as Brittany mentioned, RGG had their own showcase
Oh,
this
yeah, they
week,
did.
and it was all about husbandos.
Oh, it was so glorious. Yeah, unfortunately for me and everyone on the West Coast, happened at 3 a.m.
Yikes!
So that was rough. I said I was going to sleep through it, and I would just check the news in the morning. I woke up at 2:40, and I was like, oh, I'll go back to bed. Woke up at 3:30, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm up now. And the first image I was brought to was Like a Dragon 8. And the image was of Kiryu Kazuma with his silver-ass hair, and he looking like the #1 host at Stardust. And I know there's a few of y'all who know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here's the trailer right now. So what's really interesting about this is you have Ichiban walking through the iconic red gates of Kamurocho, and he's like, cool, whatever. In this part right now, it's all in Japanese, but essentially what people are saying, like, hey, Ichiban, or like, nice to meet you, Ichiban, kind of, I guess, describing his beginnings. And then this other shadowy figure, silhouette, joins him to the left, and then they start talking, and Ichiban says... Sorry, no, it's Kiryu who says, guess we don't have a choice. And then Ichiban says, all right, it's hero time, Kiryu-san. And then it zooms in on their faces. What is happening with our man on the left? I mean, I have a lot of theories. I think he's probably undercover. He's probably coming back to take care of some business here. And the quote was something along the lines of, you have Ichiban who has the weight of the future on his back, and you have Kiryu who has the weight of the past on his back. And this is a really... People have a lot of opinions, ladies, about Kiryu coming back because Yakuza 6 was supposed to be his end. He was supposed to be written off, sort of, and then the torch was passed to Ichiban in Like a Dragon. But now Kiryu appears to be having a much larger role, and personally, I'm all here for it. You know, I love that cast of characters. I think it's really important that we continue to include them while Ichiban can stand on his own. I think bringing Kiryu and a crew into Ichiban's storyline can do a lot of really interesting things. So don't knock it till you play it. That's all I'm going to say. That's not coming until 2024. So you might be thinking, but we've been getting an RGG game like every year forever. That's what it feels like. Never ye fear, because we have Ishin coming out. And then we also have this Kingdom Hearts ass title, which is called Like a Dragon Gaiden, the Man Who Erased His Name.
All right, let me make sure I
Oh, that really was the full name. When I saw it on YouTube, I was like, surely this is like editorialization.
No, it's the real name.
I think I'm coming in at the right time
Yep.
for Yakuza, I feel like, because I'm just now playing Yakuza Like a Dragon as my first
okay.
Yakuza game. I'm on chapter 7, I think is the one I'm about to start.
Okay.
I'm loving it so far. It's
Yay!
I feel like every part of that game is good, which is so impressive.
makes me
And
so happy.
like open world game with like side quests and stuff, like the freaking rhythm game in the theater with the sheep, like I'm here
that
for
so
it.
good though?
It's
That's
so good.
And that's the wackiness of those games. So this is the other huge announcement we got, which I did not see coming at all. The Man Who Erased His Name. So this is Kiryu. He's at some sort of monastery. Also, look at those sock physics. Look how they fold when they walk. I'm just saying that's pretty awesome. Sock physics, let's
Thank
go.
you.
Sock physics and toilet paper. I'm easy to please. So essentially, he's here. He's meditating. And this takes place after Yakuza 6. And it's going to follow him from Yakuza 6 through Like a Dragon 8. That's what we're calling it now. Because we never really knew what he got up to after 6. Like, that was supposed to be the end of his story. But now they've felt the need to tell us where he's been, what he's been up to, and they're going to tie it in with the 2024 title. And So this is just really exciting because I'm so curious to know like what he's been up to. What is this dude doing? And he's in hiding. We know he went in hiding. He tried to erase his entire like history of existing. Here he's getting scolded because he can't forget his family, which is like LOL funny because he's actually at a Yakuza like hideout. It's, you know, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretending to be like a monastery, but it's actually like a front for a big Yakuza hideout. Anyway. Yeah, so this is coming out in 2023, and
They really do crank those games out.
Oh,
over at
it's a
RGG.
glorious time to be alive, and yeah, I am just thrilled. So they've said that this is about half the length of a mainline Yakuza game. That could mean it's 10 hours. That could mean it's 50 hours.
Cool.
Don't quite know what it means, but I am here for it. My timeline for next year is completely set. And what's interesting, too, is Kiryu is now going by Joryu, I believe is what his name is, which is like, why are you going by that? I don't know. And also your hair looks like normal hair here, so clearly you get like the silver wig going for it. I don't know. I am so happy. I am thrilled. This was great. Let's go, team. Also, the summit was wonderful because they had all the Yakuza 0 bosses on stage, which that should be the next game you play, Janet.
Yeah.
Oh.
That seems like what would be the
Studs.
progression. I don't know if I'll have time to in between these. We'll see how it's going.
I have the luxury
Because
of...
Like a Dragon is going slow and steady.
Yeah,
but mostly slow.
That's the problem. Is these games, you know, to complete, it's 80 hours, 100. It depends on how much you want to do. I had the luxury of
so
playing
much.
at the beginning of the pandemic when I had nothing but time. And so I cranked all 7 games out in 2 months.
I plan to to try to like speed things up a little bit because I like doing a lot of the side stuff, and part of that is also a necessity of like grinding to a certain degree anyway, so it works out. But I'm on like chapter 7 of like I think 15 chapters in Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is what it is called. So
Yes.
there goes Yakuza Like a Dragon. That is the name of the game on the box when I click on it on my dash on Xbox Game Pass. But I think I'm gonna do like a week where like because I'm streaming it, and that's also why it's taking longer because I can't just play it. A week of just like all the streams are just gonna be every day I'm playing Yakuza, like it's Yakuza week, and that's what I want to do to try to like speed it up a little bit, because otherwise I'm like I will be and people have tweeted me about this game where they're like, oh yeah, I just finished it, took me 2 years. I'm like, yeah, I can't take that long.
Oh wow,
we gotta speed it up a little bit.
Yeah. No, I mean I believe it. I think to complete that game's about 100 hours if you want to really do everything.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
probably
lot.
won't do everything,
No.
but I am enjoying dabbling in like the side quests here and there, and I like how they do the side storylines. Like they're very like thorough, and they like last a long time throughout like the
game.
regular campaign. It's like
Uh-huh.
it really feels like it's a regular city, you know.
Right.
It's like, oh, let me catch back up with this person, but yeah, I feel like I'm entering at a good time. Like there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah,
so
and that's what's so
here we
great
are.
about Like a Dragon is it introduced a lot of people to the series. Like Gary Whitta, for example, is a huge Like a Dragon fan, and he's always talking. I'm like, yes, and like you're playing Like a Dragon, and that's what's so glorious, and that's why I'm so happy they're bringing Kiryu into Ichiban's storyline. Title that get people to play 0, hopefully through 6, but if not, it's okay. And it's been a good week for me.
But if not, it's okay, everybody.
It has been such a good week for me.
This has been an incredible week for video game news. I thought for sure that we were going to just get a couple small things around TGS. Usually we get a couple things, but I was not prepared for this. And not to mention, UB Forward happened last weekend.
Yeah.
And there was a bunch of stuff, but clearly, y'all know, as you can see from my assassins up here on set, and we are drinking the Assassin's Creed whiskey, that franchise is my number 1 out of their stable, and I've been a big Assassin's Creed fan for a really long time, and I had the pleasure of actually getting a pre-briefing from Ubisoft for the Assassin's Creed showcase that happened last weekend. Clearly, Assassin's Creed Mirage was the big headline from that. That's the next Assassin's Creed game that's coming in 2023. And they really are kind of leaning into this open world RPG that they started with Origins and continued through Valhalla. But they did, I think, a wonderful thing, which was like, hey, we know you have questions. We read the forums. We see your comments. Let's talk about what's coming in the future of the franchise so you don't take to Twitter and tell us about how mad you are that we didn't make the game that you were looking for. Because Assassin's Creed Mirage is set in very early Baghdad. It's actually set about 20 years ahead of the time frame of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So this is the golden age of Baghdad. Golden age being 861. And I was trying to talk to somebody about the timeline for the year, and I got confused, but what's considered like BC, like before Christ, and then there's like this GE, like general era, and then there's like this like combined timeline era that's like another acronym, and I'm like, I am not up on the like current like how to measure the years in historical human civilization. So all Ubisoft told me was the year 861, so early. You know,
fair.
No pew pews, no electricity, just lots of blades. And it features Basim, who was brought into the franchise in Valhalla, which I think is really great. But what I thought was really cool is that they bring in Basim's mentor, who is named Roshan in the game. And she, which I think is really great, is played by a female character, which in that era would be very, I think, kind of controversial in some circles. Because women, for turns out thousands of years, not really considered leaders of any kind, which is kind of a bummer. And they brought in a really heavy hitter to play her, Shore Agdashlu, which if you heard her voice, you'll recognize her instantly. I recently just finished The Expanse, so of course I'm like very familiar with her work, but she was also in the Mass Effect series, among many other projects that she's done. And I love that they did a little aside with her where she talks about how this character is special to her because it really kind of mirrors her personal experience as an elder Persian woman, of being like, hey, like this is like kind of who I am. And so I was really excited to play this character. And I thought that was really cool. And Ubisoft has been doing a really great job of making sure they do their due diligence with their historical significance and representations in specific areas. And they went into a lot of details about what's going to be coming into this game, including some gameplay changes, but they're really just taking what they built in Valhalla and like kind of glowing it up a bit, including what they called a modern take on parkour, because Baghdad as a city is super dense and super vertical, and Valhalla felt like it was a lot of like open spaces, a lot of trees. Brittany, like out in the woods of you know, the prehistoric.
So what's this beef with you and trees?
Oh boy, let's not.
What happened?
The baby girl.
She can't explain it.
Did
Janet,
like
that's
a tree
why.
like hurt you in some
A tree
way?
hurt me very badly. TLDR in 2017, right? 2017, Horizon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. I couldn't get into it because there were too many trees in the open area. It was not an exciting environment for me, and I made a comment on what's good, and I was like, too many trees, and I've never lived it down since.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's followed her all this time.
It's true.
Yeah.
It was a dumb comment. I own up to it. But.
And she eventually played Horizon and
loved
remembered why we talked about it as being one of the most amazing games ever made. But we're not talking about Horizon. We're talking about Assassin's Creed. What I don't want to go too far into the weeds because, like I mentioned, this is probably old news for a lot of people watching the podcast. But I'm excited because obviously I love this franchise, and it looks like they're doing a new emphasis on stealth, which was a hallmark of the franchise in its early years, and a lot of diehard fans have been calling for them to bring that back. They're like, hey, the combat, the kind of more brawler style combat that Valhalla introduced was cool and all, but that's not really, didn't really feel assassin-y.
So my impression from watching the showcase or the forward was that Mirage was going to go, quote, back to its roots and not focus so much on the open world, on the RPG elements. Is that not right?
I think it's column A, column B.
Okay.
So they're doing both because they clearly put a lot of work into the systems that they built for the open world. But I think what they heard from people in Valhalla is that, like, hey, some of this felt a little bit superfluous. Like, I don't need all of this stuff in this game. I want some of it, and I want some of the progression to be meaningful. But I got frustrated with Valhalla because it felt like I was using the gear I got in the beginning of the game into late game because they never introduced gear that I wanted to grind for or go for until the very end of the game. And I'm like, there's got to be a middle ground between gear you get in the beginning that you love, but that you want to leave behind because the thing you're getting is better, and the enemies you encounter are forcing you to go for better gear, and having cool armor sets to chase mid to late game. They didn't have any mid game chase. It was all cool stuff in the beginning and then like really dope stuff at the very end if you made it. But my gripe with that was like, well, if I've made it to the end and now you've given me the cool gear, where do I go use the cool gear?
Right.
And Ubisoft answer would be like, the DLC. But it's like, who's got the time?
Yeah.
The games are too big. And that was their big gripe. And so I think they hear that, and the future games are going to acknowledge that. And I think scale back because they announced the future of the franchise, including an Assassin's Creed mobile game called Codename Jade, which is set in China, which is another open world game where they say you can parkour on the Great Wall of China. I was like, well, that sounds cool. And you can create your own assassin.
That's cool.
So the creator character, I think, is going to be really interesting. They also announced a show coming to Netflix, which I am pumped to see. And they named Jeb Stewart as the showrunner for that. And, of course, it's going to Netflix because they're getting all the video game stuff. And then the big one that I think people are like, oh, my God, finally, Assassin's Creed Red, which we mentioned, set in feudal Japan. It's a shinobi fantasy is what they're calling it. And they are dubbing it the future of open world RPG games.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I'm like, well, if anybody could do it, Ubisoft Quebec. So this is the studio that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, of course, featuring Cassandra in Greece, and I loved that game. And I think this game could be really amazing, especially knowing the Assassin's Creed team's commitment to art direction and artistic design and melding original creation with historical representation. I think very few teams in video games really nail it the way that Ubisoft does. And then the one that I think I'm personally most excited for, Assassin's Creed Codename Hexe.
Oh yeah, that looks good too.
So there's a lot of theories, and I think the idea is that it's going to be centered around the witch trials.
Right.
And it sounded to me that it was going to feel more like a survival horror game. But they called it a very different type of Assassin's Creed experience, this game. Yeah. And this is very
match 3. Okay.
No.
You know, I wouldn't put it past them. Ubisoft is very big in the mobile scene. I would be here for an Assassin's Creed.
I'm so excited for both of those. I mean, yeah. Ever since Origins, I've always been like, oh, maybe this will be the one. This will be the one. But I just never have been able to finish an AC game. It's just never really been my thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, feudal Japan. I'm like, okay, hi. And then spooky other things. Like, okay, hi, yes. That's totally me. And that's why I'm like, okay, like, go on with your bad self because this is all a part of Infinity.
So that's the thing that I have the most questions about. So they announced Assassin's Creed Infinity. So this was a leak, but I think everyone got the leaks wrong about what Infinity was supposed to be. They called it a hub.
Right.
It says the standalone multiplayer experiences are going to be connected to this Infinity hub, and it's supposed to connect all of the Assassin's Creed games together. And they kind of insinuated that it would be like an Animus type experience, where you could jump in and out of Assassin's Creed experiences through this hub. All I heard through the presentation was, this is a metaverse. And they didn't outright say that. Right. And I never was able to ask the question. So I should probably still send that to their PR team and be like, can you confirm if this is a metaverse or not? Blockchain, any of that stuff, because it feels like that's a really popular thing for everyone to talk about these days. You talk about a connected space and a connected universe like that. I mean,
maybe they're bringing back PlayStation Home. Who could say?
Or they're going to start selling Assassin's Creed.
Well, PlayStation's doing that with their the PlayStation Stars, right? They have
they
take this fake PS3 and put it in your something. I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. No, Ubisoft already has their whole NFT side program, so Ubisoft not beyond me. And they also said that they were exploring ways to incorporate multiplayer experiences. There was some very carefully worded PR speak in that presentation.
Yes. So they acknowledged multiplayer is going to be coming back to the franchise, but we don't have anything to announce at this time.
Okay.
So they don't they're not saying what it's going to look like. If it's going to be an Assassin's Creed Battle Royale, which I'm here for,
fun, actually.
What it's going to be. So so that's kind of like left in the ether. But I'm glad that they kind of detailed, hey, this is what you can expect. Here's what's coming down the pipeline. Mirage is next year. And then, probably 3 years after that, 2 or 3 years after that, we'll get Red. And then at some point, we'll get Hexe. If it's going to be a simultaneous release around Red, don't know.
As a hardcore fan, do you like that approach versus just kind of finding out as it comes? Like, which do you find more exciting?
I find it more exciting learning about them as they're ready. However, given the incredibly difficult job video game studios have to keep their projects secret, I would prefer them just say, this is what we're working on, like Marvel does at Comic-Con. They're like, let's look at the next 10 years of movies that are going to come out, and we'll give you some details, and we'll let you, have your fan theories on Reddit and whatnot, and we'll tell you what we're working on. But,
that's a good point.
It's prone to change, and I think Ubisoft has hopefully learned their lesson about showing a game too soon. I'm looking at you, Watch Dogs, too. About what happens when you announce too soon, but then they also don't want to have their thunder constantly stolen by assholes who are leaking their stuff, right? And they've clearly suffered as many leaks as every other video game publisher has. So I like that we have it now, and it's going to appease the forum. So their community managers are probably like, God bless you, whoever decided to do this, because we're tired of answering questions or not answering questions about a Japanese Assassin's Creed game that is clearly in the works. Because I think that's probably like their most requested setting.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm glad that they're finally doing it. But that's not all that happened at the Ubisoft Forward. I'm not going to go through everything because, like I said, it's old news. We got a look at Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, which we also got a little bit of at the Nintendo Direct. We Skull and Bones, you guys. That's a weird thing that happened.
How about showing games early,
Yeah, I'm still like not but that's coming November 8th.
Yes.
So soon. I think that game I'm really worried about that game. I think it's gonna fall on its face. They talked about their Netflix partnership, and then of course it was just the Assassin's Creed Power Hour. They did give some updates on some of their live service games, things like Brawlhalla, For Honor, etc. But yeah, I mean, clearly Assassin's Creed was the star of the showcase.
It was. Yeah, it was an okay showcase. I definitely found myself fast forwarding through a lot of it.
They put a lot of fluff in, and I do like how they feature a lot of people from around the world that work on Ubisoft teams, but sometimes it feels a little forced.
Yeah, and even like you can just cut that. I mean, we talked about this during opening night live, right? I think it's important to feature developers on the stage, like kind of humanize the development process, make folks realize like there are people behind these games that you love, be nice to them. But it has to be done in a way that doesn't feel forced, right? And so then, especially when you go from that to the Nintendo Direct to the State of Play, it was like, okay, this is how you do a showcase. This is how you keep your audience engaged. But it was a showcase. The Assassin's Creed stuff has me really excited for that series. Probably the most excited I've been ever for that. I mean, they're doing different things, and it doesn't feel like they're pushing them out every year. So it's not gonna be like a copy paste. You know what to expect,
right?
Which is really cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's even more news that we can't cover, like what's happening with the Call of Duty franchise. So Activision has teased that they're going to be taking Call of Duty in a bold new direction, and they're doing a big creator showcase this week on Thursday, and we, of course, can't make it to get it into the show. And so we'll probably talk about that next week. And there was also an ID at Xbox showcase that happened this week as well. I mean, and this week feels like it's super packed. And
I'm just so happy I was here this week.
Yeah. Well, Brittany is here for a top secret video game event that she will talk about at a future date. And it was just so lovely that because you're local, we're like, we get to all shoot something together in person. This is wonderful.
Yeah. Perfect. So happy you're here. It's been great. I'm checking for any last minute headlines and a bunch of Yakuza stuff, but I don't need to.
More Yakuza?
I can't.
Can there possibly be more?
More Yakuza into the show? I don't think we could.
Yakuza developer is interested in Nintendo Switch. Quote, we think of ourselves as people of the night world.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
The cloud version. Can't wait.
Oh, that's terrible, but so great.
Or a really not nice looking, not cloud version.
So we're going to have a weird cut here because you may have already deduced by getting this far into the episode that one, Riana Manuel Pena is not here this week. And that is because she is in Florida with her husband doing a promotional book tour for Danny Loves Video Games, which is available now if you guys missed it. And we got the chance to catch up with her, Britt and I did, about her experience at D23. Because in addition to everything else that's happened since last week's episode, Disney and Marvel had a showcase last Friday after the show published, featuring one Blessing Adeoye Jr. from Kind of Funny.
Crushed it, Blessing.
And this is where you would take a shot when I say my husband works for Disney in the games department. Did he work on literally all of these announcements? Yes, he did. So Riana went down to D23 and checked out everything for us, and we sat down and chatted with her. So let's roll the clip. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our special mini segment with Riana Manuel Pena, our normal Ride or Die weekly co-host who is on vacation doing some really fun stuff. Ree, why are you gone from the show this week?
Yeah, me from the future is calling in to say I am with my wonderful husband, Danny Pena, down in Miami, Florida for his book release. So, yes, September 15th is the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, and he is celebrating by officially releasing his book, Danny Loves Video Games by Mr. Luna, and there is going to be an in-person event where there's going to be some Q&A with Danny and the author, and then also some signing opportunities. So it'll be really fun. He gets to meet people who are excited for the book in person, and I'm sure we'll have lots of stories to tell you about that.
Woohoo!
I'm super happy for y'all. I think that it's such an awesome opportunity to tell such a wonderful story. And, you know, it was great to have Danny on the show just a couple weeks back. So if you guys missed that episode, Danny told us the whole story about how the book came together and how it follows his life. So please go back and check that out if you missed it. And congrats again to our friend Danny. But that's not why you're here today, technically. You are here because you were in person at D23. Yes, the Disney Expo that happened last weekend. Get your shots lined up, everybody. Just kidding. So the Disney and Marvel Game Showcase also happened last week, but you were there in person to kind of take in the whole scene. Was this your first D23?
It was my first D23, and shout out and congratulations to Kind of Funny's Blessing Adeoye Jr. for being an incredible host. He did such a great job, both in the video portion that was live streamed, and then also the Q&A after, which I got to sit front-ish row for. So yeah, it was really exciting. It was a lot of Disney magic in the air for sure.
I loved how also, hi, if you're watching on youtube.com/what's good.
I was gonna mention, yes, but you explain.
Yeah, you know, I'm a responsible adult, and I got my COVID booster shot yesterday. Hashtag Go Science. And unfortunately, though, my ass is being kicked. So right now on YouTube, I am an avatar of myself looking. I feel that's how I feel on the inside, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but on the outside, I look like death. So there we go. Enough about me though. But Blessing definitely had that Disney magic about him when he was hosting. He had that
so much energy, yeah,
and he just nailed it. I was like, yeah, dude, like you belong on a Disney commercial.
Yeah, it was a really fun showcase to watch. I am bummed that Disney didn't put the panels afterwards on the live stream at some point, or put the VODs up. And I guess that's part of like the, hey, you had to be there in person. But D23,
I think some of the VODs are up now.
Oh, if they are, that's great. I have to go check them out. I had they weren't the last time I checked, but because I wanted to learn a little bit more. So we aren't going to run down everything that was in the showcase because a lot of it was mostly just updates on existing games. But they did have a couple game announcements, which we'll get to in a second. But Ree, what were some of the things that you saw at D23 that you want to chat about today?
Yeah. Well, sticking to games, because obviously there's lots and lots to cover that ventures outside of it with Marvel being there and all. I was really, really excited to see both Amy Hennig's Untitled project coming up soon, and then also Illusion Islands. We actually had the opportunity to sit down after the showcase and after the panel with the Delilah team who was working on this game and got a little bit of history on it. Apparently it was around in the development ether for a while, and then Disney Games stopped working on that project, and now they have this revival and this opportunity to come back and make it happen. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of triumph, and yeah, I'm excited to see how that project turns out.
Yeah, I saw it was in development, I think in 2016 is what I read. I love this so much. It's this 4-player co-op platformer is what it looks like. And right now I feel like these are so hot, let alone slap Disney together on top of it. And then all these iconic characters. And I think each character has their own moveset, if I remember correctly. Either way, this just looks so damn cute. And this is probably the game that I'm most excited about from that showcase.
Yeah, it definitely was a highlight for a lot of people at the show. As you know, people are walking around saying like, "Hey, what was the biggest highlight for you?" This one definitely came up from a lot of people and not just folks who are in the Disney camp. So it sounded like it really resonated with folks. And I know we've seen a lot of trends recently with this co-op experiences, but it seems like
Hell
this one's
yeah.
going to be worth checking out for sure.
What's the name of this game again?
Illusion Islands, is that right?
Yes, I was
Disney
like,
Illusion
let me triple
Island.
check.
I was trying
Disney
to
Illusion
find
Island.
the trailer for it so we could take a quick look at it. So let me pull that up for people who are like, I have no idea what the heck is going on. And if you are, watching over at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames, I will give you guys a little show of it here. Oops, that is not the right scene.
Wow, it looks so boring.
That is the recording screen, and
It's
let
a
me
different
fix
kind of
that.
sim.
I mean, I could just show you what OBS looks like on the back end as I'm, queuing the show while we're recording, but I don't think anyone's truly interested in watching that for as long as this show tends to go.
Okay, I'll give you a little bit of a little background here. So, join Mickey and pretend I don't sound dead. Join Mickey and friends on a quest to save a mysterious world from disaster. In a brand new 1 to 4 player cooperative adventure platformer, you'll navigate as Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy through a beautifully handcrafted world as you run, swim, swing, and jump to recover 3 magical books to save the world.
Nice.
It's a big
That's
deal.
great marketing copy right there.
No, absolutely. No, I just think it looks so dang cute, and I love this little art style they're going with. I'm very excited about this.
Oh yeah, and the little bit about TBD was very cheeky and funny,
yeah.
and I was very much into that. And I was like, jokes. They got the jokes.
Yeah.
I think that was
Very
like the one
self-aware.
tweet
It's
I was able to
appreciated.
fire off during the showcase because I was on baby duty that day, and I was like, I can watch
Hi, where was
this.
John? Where's John, Andrea?
Oh, my husband John Drake was actually at the showcase. Yes, take a shot. That one. Yeah, so he was pretty excited. A big day for him. He got to bust out some of his fancy Disney sneakers that have been sitting lonely in the closet during the pandemic. Because if y'all don't follow John, he is a big sneakerhead and has a bonkers collection of shoes that he used to hide at his office, but now he can't hide them anymore.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Like he came home from the pandemic after like packing up stuff from his office at the very beginning, I should say. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought you only said there was a couple pairs of shoes at your office, and it's just like boxes and boxes and boxes of shoes. But hey, listen, everyone's got their collections, right? Okay, what else, Ree?
The other one I really wanted to talk about, and I will try not to go on too long because I could absolutely talk about this for an hour straight, was the project that we saw from Amy Hennig and Skydance New Media. So this new game studio, they're working on this untitled Captain America Black Panther team up set in World War II. And what was really interesting to hear from both Amy and Mark Bernardin, who is heading up the narrative side, was they are focused on making this a sort of Amy Hennig original, like an Amy Hennig joint, right? Like this is going to be a cinematic experience. It's narrative driven. It's something that's going to be made so it's accessible to all types of players. So we're talking about like contextual prompts, but not necessarily the most Twitch heavy challenges. But if you want that depth of the gameplay, they're going to make that available to you as well. So something that Mark said was that his grandmother has played video games now since he started working in the industry.
Oh, hell yeah.
And he wants her to be able to play through this game. So that gives you an idea of sort of like the bar they're setting for what they mean when they say accessibility, which is so encouraging. You know, we see this movement towards increasing accessibility of these really great, especially narrative experiences, because it is important that as many people as possible have access to play it and to get into this story. So that was really, really encouraging. And the other thing that Mark talked to specifically, both on stage with Blessing and also behind stage when I was actually able to catch him for a one-on-one, was the importance of having 3 Black playable characters at the center of the story. So one being Gabriel, who is a Howling Commando working with Captain America. And then you have a King of Wakanda, who is the Black Panther. Actually, it's T'Challa's grandfather. And what is her name? Sorry, I can't remember her name. One of the spies from the Nanali, one of the spies from Wakanda. So from their spy organization, she's one of the leaders there in their spy network. And so what is it going to be like when you're at the center of this war in particular, right? World War II, which, many different people have many different histories with, and at least in the United States. But when you have a Howling Commander who's an African-American man who is, fighting in a war, but, still a second-class citizen in a lot of rights, meeting a Wakandan king who is part of a cloistered society that has not come out and to help melanated people across the world yet, as we've seen happening in Black Panther. So there's possible hints of Killmonger was right, like maybe Gabriel isn't immediately on the best terms with the Wakandans, and maybe there's some additional conflict and resolution needed there while they're all fighting towards the same goal of, liberating people during World War II. So there's so many stories to be told here, and I cannot wait to dig into it because it's absolutely fascinating just from the premise alone.
This was certainly an interesting, probably to me, the standout announcement from the whole showcase. And for people who are like, Amy Hennig, that name sounds so familiar. She has been working in games for decades, probably most known for her work on the Uncharted franchise. She also famously worked on a Star Wars game that was shuttered by EA and is now heading stuff over at Skydance. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what she's going to do with this title. Now, wasn't too jazzed. It's yet another game set in World War II era, but all of these details that you just told us that they gave in the panel have me way more excited than I was. And I was always going to try this game because it's an Amy Hennig joint, but this makes it way more interesting now.
Yeah.
Did they talk about its structure like a TV series at all?
No, so they made it pretty clear that this was one game, so one narrative experience.
Okay.
There may be like chapters within it, but it's definitely one playable story.
Okay, I'm reading this one article. It's on Kotaku, but it says it's structured like a TV series, which they described as being a bingeable serialized adventure. So they brought together a team of creatives with diverse experiences across media, TV, film, comics, and games. I don't know what that really meant. My COVID fog brain is fucking with me, but okay. So it sounds like it's a game, but the way it might be broken down within the game is okay.
Yeah, they did speak to, as I said, like making this something that many different people, different skill levels of gameplay could enjoy and jump into either on their own or sitting next to somebody. And so that makes sense. Maybe I wouldn't have interpreted it quite that way, but they definitely want this to be something that you can either play or watch. And it's, I sit down, I have my moment with this story, and then I go live my life and I come back to it. And they kept saying, the words cinematic and narrative. And I think that may be where the sort of like television episode comparison comes from.
I like that because here's this quote from her. She said, narratively, this game is co-op. Gameplay mechanics wise, no. Like, okay. Like, I get that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sort of like passenger seat and like, was it armchair quarterback a few of the scenes in the game.
Cool. Yay.
Nice. Of course, we got a couple other announcements, including updates on games like Disney Dreamlight Valley, which I know some of you have reached out and been like, Andrea, where's the update? Are you playing? And I haven't started yet because I was waiting to buy it on my Switch because John is playing on Xbox because it's part of Game Pass, and I'm like, do I spend the money to get into early access on my Switch because I know that this is where I'm going to play long term, or do I just dabble on my Xbox and see if I really am going to get hooked? But John was like, I don't know. I think this isn't going to be an instant hook for you. You should just buy it where you're going to play it the most. So I haven't started it yet because I'm worried for my for my time. I'm worried for my game life balance.
Oh man, yeah. When you got hooked on Animal Crossing, life was way different.
Yes, it was. I had a lot more time to just have coffee and look up custom patterns to put on my pillows.
You also just got back into Destiny 2, so the two at the same time is a little terrifying.
Oh,
honestly.
were you just saying that you wanted to maybe check out Cyberpunk again?
Yes, I do. I have lots of grand plans for what I want to do. What's actually going to come to fruition remains to be seen. Any other D23 updates?
Yeah, just wanted to say that it was a great experience. I have never been to one before, so I don't have anything to compare it to, but it wasn't overly crowded. I wasn't bumping into people. Like, it felt very safe and very controlled. And I do appreciate the organizers for D23 implementing things like virtual queues for lines so that you don't have 10,000 people standing in one place at the same time to get to something, and really spacing out the number of people in each individual room. And masks were required everywhere I went, and that was backstage. And I'm just glad that things are coming back, but I didn't feel I was risking too much of my personal health and safety. And I'm really, really inspired by the energy there. Like, people were just so excited to see these projects. Disney is a very wholesome brand in general.
Some of that
compared to a
Disney
lot of
magic,
these.
maybe?
Yeah. So it was just overly positive. Even like the celebrities on stage were just like so loving and so caring and had so many great messages. So if there's anything you're curious about that was at D23, I encourage you to go look up videos, because it was a lot of great information, and it's impossible to cover all of it in one place.
I have to give a shout out to your amazing outfit that you were wearing. Oh,
Thank you.
my God, woman. You embodied brilliant 90s sexiness.
Oh,
don't
I
know
was
what
going
even
for that.
said.
Wait, which day are you
I
talking
appreciate
about?
it.
I just saw the day of the showcase. You had like this bright ass like pattern something on. Girl.
Yeah, that was my Nickelodeon shirt is what I'm calling it.
Yes, okay, that's it. Oh my
Nice.
God, so good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for popping in, even though you're technically out of town on the show this week. We, of course, if you guys are listening to the show, I've already heard, we've got Janet Garcia on the show with us. And we look forward to getting an update on how everything went on the book tour when you get back. All right, now back to your regularly scheduled podcast. Well, it was super fun to get to talk to Ree about all of that. I wish I could have been there, but someone had to keep this baby alive.
It's a tough job.
Brutal.
Brutal.
It is brutal. Actually, I watched it on the interwebs.
You got one tweet out.
I did exactly
Nice.
one tweet
You did.
about Illusion Island, and that was it.
That
Yeah.
was good. Hey, that was a worthy title, worthy of a tweet.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, let's continue on with the rest of the show. Normally, after a big news segment like this, we would take a nice break and then come back and talk about what we've been playing. But it's been a busy week, so we're actually not going to do that. But as I alluded to, Brittany, you're going to be playing some stuff.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. I get to play that. I get to talk about it. I'm so excited. Zach Fair. Have you played that game?
No.
Have you? Yeah.
I mean,
You're gonna love
you
him.
know, I'm very
I know-
confused about everything Square's doing with Final Fantasy right now.
Oh man, no, yeah, I'm gonna be able to talk about that next week. I've been playing Star Ocean, The Divine Force, Dragon Quest Treasures. Like, these are some Brit ass games, and I'm just very, very excited to talk about all of those in depth next week when I'm back on the show, because you know it's just the timing of everything. I couldn't talk about it this week. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
We'll
Zach Fair
have
ain't going
lots.
nowhere.
Yeah. But Janet, thank you so much for coming by the show. What an excellent week to have you on. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, you're doing lots of stuff. So where is the best place for people to keep up with you and all the things you're doing?
Yeah, you can follow me on twitter.com. My handle is @GameOnysus. That's game ONYSUS. And that's my handle across everything. Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, every single place on the internet. That's the handle. If there's a place on the internet that you go to that doesn't have my handle, that isn't creepy, let me know, and maybe I'll sign up. But you know what I mean. Don't be weird. Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. But
That's
follow
all
me
we
on those
ever ask.
platforms
Don't make it
weird.
for all my content. But yeah.
Yes. And I want to give a shout out to all of our end of podcast listeners.
Oh yeah.
So many of you tweeted to me because I asked you at the end of last week's episode. I said, who are the diehards that are making it to the end of each episode?
We got a lot.
Let me know. So thank you to everybody. I think I responded to almost everyone. I think there's maybe one or two of you that maybe slipped through the cracks, and for that I sincerely apologize. But I was warmed by how many of you were like, Avi, we make it to the end of the episode. We're the diehards. So thank you for the support as always. Like, hearing from you guys, you know, makes us feel really good. It reminds us that, you know, we love what we do because we do it for you guys. And a little bit for Britt's Yakuza obsession.
I gotta get it out every week.
Otherwise, she would just explode.
I would.
Well, thanks everybody for hanging with us. We will see you next week. Bye.